Hi guys, welcome to homework worksheet H1-1 on reviewing, simplifying, and order of operations. Our directions state, complete the following worksheet without using a calculator. Show all proper work. Simplify each expression. The intent of this assignment is just to get our brains thinking about math again. So with this particular video, this will be covering problems 1, 2, and 3. If you have questions about any of these ones here, you can fast forward and to whichever problem you need. If you understand it there or you're looking for another video, go ahead and click on one of the other videos. All right, number 1 says 2/3 times 12 minus the square root of the quantity of 21 plus 2 to the third power. Remember, we're always looking for our grouping symbols first. We have parentheses and we have the square root symbol. Both are grouping symbols. When we look inside the parentheses, we have a 2 divided by 3, or 2/3, written as a fraction. There's not really much we need to do right there. Let's go ahead and jump inside the square root, where we have 21 plus 2 to the third power. Now we know that when we have addition and exponents here, we need to do the exponents first. So what we're looking at here is going to be 21 plus 2 to the third power is 8. And we'll go ahead and just add those together. So we have 29 inside the square root. I'm going to just bring everything else down. We have 2/3 times 12 minus the square root of 29. Now 29 is not a perfect square, so we're not going to be able to take the square root of it and put down a nice clean number. You're going to have to get used to that because in Algebra 2, we don't always type things into the calculator and use the decimal form. This is what we would call the exact value, the square root of 29. I don't want some rounded decimal, so we'll leave that as it is. Now, when we jump outside here, we've got multiplication, we've got subtraction, and then we have the square root of 29 there. So we're going to need to do the multiplication. Go ahead and multiply 2/3 of 12. Well, 2 times 12 is 24, divided by 3 is 8, so 2/3 of 12 is 8. And then we have minus the square root of 29. Since we don't want to change the square root of 29, this will be our final answer, 8 minus the square root of 29. Number 2, I have a -2 raised to the third power, a 5 raised to the second power, and then a -1/10, and they're all being multiplied times each other. So inside our grouping symbols, we don't have any operations happening, right? There's just values inside. So we're going to go to our exponents. -2 to the third power, remember, is like -2 times -2 times -2, which should give us a -8 there. And make sure it's negative, because when you multiply a negative times itself an odd number of times, it's going to give you a negative. And you can put parentheses around it if you want. You don't have to. But we have -8 times, and then 5 squared is 25. And -1/10 there, we'll just leave it alone for the moment. So now we've got just multiplication here. So let's start with the first two. We've got -8 times 25 should be a -200. And we're going to multiply that times a -1/10. Well, first thing we know here, negative times negative is going to give us a positive. And then when we multiply 200 times 1/10, that's the same thing as saying, 200 over 10, right? Or dividing 200 by 10, which is just going to give us a positive 20. For the third problem, we have the absolute value of 14 minus 5 minus the absolute value of 5 minus 19. And remember, absolute values are grouping symbols. So we have two different groups here. We've got the group on the left. Let me put a little color in there, right? And then we have the group on the right. So when we do the absolute value, remember we're talking about the distance from 0. So I'm going to do 14 minus 5. That's going to give me a positive 9. And I'm still taking the absolute value of that right now. And we have minus in between. 5 minus 19 is going to be a -14. And we're still going to need to take the absolute value of that. Absolute value of 9 is just 9, because it's 9 units from 0. The absolute value of negative 14 is a positive 14 because it's 14 units from 0. We still have this subtraction in between. So 9 minus 14 should give us negative 5, and that is the answer to the third problem. If you have additional questions on any of these, please make sure you mark it down and reach out to me, and I will help you out however I can. Thanks for watching.